Hey there, it's time for another selling point. Today I want to talk about a topic that is a real problem for a lot of salespeople, and that is don't sell like you like to buy. There was a guy that needed to chop some firewood, but he didn't have an axe. So he went next door and he asked his neighbor if he could borrow his axe. And his neighbor said, "No, you can't borrow my axe because I've got to make some homemade soup." And the guy thought about it for a second and he said, "Well, wait a minute." He said, "What does me borrowing your axe have to do with you making soup?" And he said, "Well, it ain't got nothing to do with it, but if I don't want to loan you my axe, one excuse is good as another." So when you think about it, do you expect your buyers and your prospects to respond the same way that you do when you're purchasing? For example, when I go out to make what I call a four-figure purchase, which is over $1,000, I do some research and I look into it. I go online. I try to learn as much as I can. And in many cases, when I do sit down with a salesperson, I probably know about as much as he does about that. But do my prospects all do that? Of course not. So we got to realize that each of our prospects is different based on their temperament, based on their values, based on the amount of risk that they're willing to take. So we've got to make sure that we're not out there selling the way we would sell. If I went to sell somebody and I expected them to know everything about it already because I would have researched it, so certainly they're going to research it, that's not what happens. So let me give you some examples to kind of give you an idea of some common things that happen to salespeople. There's a salesperson by the name of Hal, and Hal, he always shops around before he ever makes his purchase. So when he has prospects that tell him, "Well, I appreciate you coming out, but I need to get several more estimates and bids before I make a final decision," it doesn't bother Hal. He just kind of lets it go and says, "Hey, that's cool. I understand. I'm pretty much the same way. So, whenever you make up your mind, give me a call." Not a good approach. So when Hal sells like he likes to buy, he doesn't make many sales. Michelle, on the other hand, is a sales lady that she tends to buy the least expensive product or service that's out there. And so when she goes out to sell, she tends to offer the low end. Even though she works for a company that sells a premium service, she tends to offer the low end entry level product for her. And what happens is at the end of every month, then her average size sale is way below her company standard. Danielle, on the other hand, she's very indecisive when she makes a purchase. And so what she tends to do is she tends to load up the wagon and offer way too many options. She may offer 5 or 6 choices to a prospect, and that prospect then ends up with their head just spinning around, and of course they've got to go think about it because they've been given so many options or so many choices, and so Danielle's sales are not anywhere near what they should be. Ted, on the other hand, is a salesperson that he can really never find the right time to make a purchase. So when he's out there proposing, then when the prospect tells him, well, this is not really a good time. We need to wait till we get back from our vacation. Well, this is really not a good time because we need to wait till the end of our kids' soccer season, or whatever the kind of put off that it might be. Then Ted gets that. He understands. He said, "Hey, that's not a problem. Just give me a call whenever you're ready to talk some more." So at the end of the month, Ted has also very few sales. And then finally, Veronica is the type salesperson that she tends to propose the same way that she buys. And for some reason, she ends up buying from the most aggressive and overzealous salesperson that she can find. And so she tends to do the same thing when she goes out there. And so she leans on folks and puts pressure on them and tends to be aggressive because that's the way that she buys. Well, guess what? End of the month comes around, she has very few sales, but she has the most complaints in the whole office of prospects that have called in and said, you got to do something with that girl. She's leaning on me too hard. So the takeaway here is the point about this is that don't expect your prospects to buy the way you like to sell. And so put that aside and just make sure that you're reading your prospects properly, that you're paying attention to their temperament and realizing, what their personality type is, that you're taking into account, the level of risk that they may be willing or not willing to take. Also, what is it that they value in terms. Now, how are you going to find these things out? Well, it's back to that same song that I'm always singing, is you're only going to find that out by asking good questions and doing a good discovery when you first meet that prospect. So there's your takeaway from today. And if you're guilty of what one of those 6 examples of salespeople are doing, then snap out of it as quick as you can, because that may very well be the reason that your sales are not anywhere near what they should be at the end of each month. Now, to help you to continue to improve, don't forget my book. I put this on my bucket list a long time ago that I wanted to write a book. And so during about a 15 or 20 year period of time, I kept notes, and I had a file folder just full of sticky notes and pieces of yellow paper where I had jotted down some things that I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't forget, so that when I got ready to sit down and write my book, that I'd be able to remember those kind of things. And so I did that. And then when I retired, I sat down to write this book, and I spent 15 months doing nothing else but. My wife was about to run me off back at the time, because that's all I could focus on was to get this done. But this is just a lot of experience that I've been able to accumulate over the years. And it will certainly help you. So go for $12, go pick you up a copy of Sell Is Not a 4-Letter Word, and you can go to RobinsonTrainingsolutions.com and pick it up there as quick as any other place. If for some reason you don't want to go to the website, you can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or any of the other common booksellers. And so until next time, have a great sales week.